The invasion began quietly, which confused the observers who had studied Earth for decades. The fleet arrived in perfect formation and settled into orbit like a patient shadow. Cities did not burn. Oceans did not boil. No messages were broadcast. The invaders simply waited, confident that fear alone would fracture the planet. On the surface, people watched the sky and argued. Governments issued statements filled with calm words and careful promises. Networks replayed the same images of massive shapes hanging above the clouds. Panic rose in waves, but never fully broke. Humans had seen disasters before and had learned how to breathe through them. The invaders were scholars of conquest. Their records showed that most worlds collapsed within 1 hour. Authority failed. Supply chains shattered. Infighting followed. By the 3rd hour, surrender signals usually filled the air. Earth did none of that. Hour 1 passed with debates and emergency meetings. Hour 2 passed with evacuation drills and power grids stabilizing. Hour 3 passed with silence from orbit and growing curiosity on the ground. By hour 4, the invaders began to feel something unfamiliar. Unease. They sent probes, then landing craft, then small patrol units. The goal was intimidation, not destruction. Streets emptied as the craft descended, but there was no chaos. The units advanced and met barriers made of steel and vehicles placed with care. People watched from windows and cameras captured everything. The first confrontation lasted less than 5 minutes. The patrol units withdrew intact but confused. They had expected resistance, fueled by fear or rage. Instead, they encountered delay. Doors closed. Roads folded. Signals jammed. The humans did not rush. They observed at hour 5, the invaders finally transmitted a declaration. It was translated automatically across every network. It spoke of superiority and destiny and inevitable submission. It promised safety for those who complied. It ended with a deadline. 6 hours, the message was meant to end the waiting. It did the opposite. In a quiet facility beneath a mountain, a man named Adam listened to the broadcast without expression. He was not a leader in the political sense. He did not appear on screens or give speeches. His role existed for moments exactly like this. Around him, engineers and analysts waited. No one spoke. They had all seen the same data. The invasion pattern did not match historical models. The invaders were cautious. That meant they were intelligent. That meant they could learn. Adam raised his hand, and the room came alive. Screens shifted. Systems woke. The serious plans moved from theory to execution. Humanity had always appeared divided. Nations argued. Cultures clashed. But beneath that noise existed a shared instinct that had carried the species from caves to orbit. When the threat became real and unavoidable, coordination followed naturally. Civilian networks rerouted into emergency meshes. Satellites adjusted positions with precision that surprised even their designers. Power consumption spiked and then stabilized. Factories that once produced consumer goods shifted seamlessly into other roles. The change was not announced. It simply happened. At the 6-hour mark, the invaders initiated their next phase. They deployed larger forces and began asserting control over key regions. This time, they expected capitulation. Instead, they encountered resistance that felt different from anything in their archives. Human machines did not advance recklessly. They moved in layers. Some distracted. Some observed. Some waited until patterns emerged. The invaders relied on superior technology and disciplined formations. Humans relied on adaptation. A unit commander paused as signals around him flickered. His sensors fed him data that changed faster than his models could process. The environment itself seemed hostile. Buildings became shields. Roads became traps. The humans did not fight to win quickly. They fought to learn. Above the atmosphere, the fleet adjusted tactics. New commands were issued. More force was authorized. The assumption was that humans would break under pressure. They did not. Instead, something shifted. Human broadcasts changed tone. Gone were the calming reassurances. Gone were the debates. A single message appeared across the globe and was translated into every known language, including the one used by the invaders. It was short. The observation phase is over, Adam. Watch the confirmation lights turn green. Systems once buried behind layers of caution were now active. These were not weapons built for conquest. They were tools designed with a single purpose: to ensure survival. The first demonstration was subtle. Orbital paths changed in ways that forced the fleet to constantly adjust. Communication delays appeared. Navigation data became unreliable. The invaders prided themselves on control of space. Humans turned space into uncertainty. On the ground, the pattern repeated. Drones that once dominated the sky found themselves tracked by networks they could not see. Supply units vanished, not destroyed but disabled and captured. Human teams moved quickly and vanished just as fast. Strategists aboard the flagship reviewed the reports and felt something close to disbelief. This was not how primitive worlds behaved. This was not how prey acted. The answer came from an analyst who had studied human history in secret against protocol. He spoke carefully. They are not serious until they decide survival is at stake. When they do, they stop pretending to be divided. The fleet commander ordered escalation. More assets were deployed. The response was immediate. Human systems revealed their true depth. Layers within layers. Redundancy built upon redundancy. Failures did not cascade. They informed the invaders attempted to target command structures. They found none that mattered. Leadership was distributed. Authority flowed where needed and vanished when threatened. Adam moved between stations as alerts flashed and faded. He did not shout. He did not celebrate. This was not victory. This was balance being restored. In one city, a group of civilians watched as a towering machine halted at an intersection. It scanned. It recalculated. Then it withdrew. Cheers did not erupt. People simply nodded and went. Back to work. At hour 8, the invaders requested negotiations. The message was cautious, respectful, entirely different from the declaration sent. Earlier, Adam read it and allowed himself a single breath. He knew what it meant. They had learned enough to understand that continuing would be costly beyond acceptable limits. The response sent back was equally brief. Leave orbit and do not return. There were no threats attached. None were needed. The fleet hesitated. Then ships began to move. Not all at once. Not in panic. But with the unmistakable posture of a force that had misjudged its target. As the last vessel vanished from sensors, the world exhaled. No monuments were raised that day. No global celebrations erupted. Humans returned to arguing about borders and policies and sports, but something had changed beneath the noise. They had been tested. They had waited. 6 hours. Then they had gotten serious, and the galaxy would remember that patience did not mean weakness.